You are now tuned in.
Hello, wonderful family. My name is Evergreen, and in today's podcast, I will be teaching us a few things that we need to know about mother tongue. Okay, we'll learn a lot, and we'll see the advantages of encouraging your kids to learn and improve on their mother tongue, okay, or their native language. Okay, so a few hours ago, I had someone on Facebook who wanted to know the values of or the benefits of it that she might get or she will get if she encourages her kids to speak in their mother tongue. And of course, I promised her that I will do so by creating this podcast. And also, many of us out there, I also know that are listening. Of course, I also know that you may have this concern. Really want to know, why should I speak my language? Why Igbo language? Why should I communicate in my language in this foreign land? Okay, for those in the UK, I've always encouraged you to make out time to teach your children, make out time to create the opportunity for your children to learn your native language. It's very important. We've had several parents complain and express their concerns for this lacuna, this gap. Okay, they keep saying that children, the moment they left Nigeria, that their kids have found it difficult to speak. First, there is no one to talk. There's no one for them to communicate, with. That they themselves as parents find it difficult because, of course, here in Nigeria, you find that most parents already speak English to their children. And then the worst happens when they now leave the shore of Nigeria to UK or to any of the European countries. You find that they find it difficult to communicate. Okay, and that affects the child as well, because the child, of course, loses the language, loses their history, heritage, culture. Okay, and then which also trickles down to other factors that make such a child not to have that African upbringing, that discipline that is needed when bringing up an African child or a Nigerian child or an average Igbo child. And so there are a few things that I've penned down that I will highlight in the course of this podcast. We're going to talk about it, and please don't hesitate to drop your questions in case you have any. Number one, why should you encourage your child to speak Igbo? Okay, to speak his or her native language. Now, this also it may not be Igbo alone, though for the course of our program, we are talking about the Igbo language. But of course, that also affects the Yoruba and the Hausa. You have many of them out there. In fact, the Yorubas and the Hausas are even doing better. Okay, they're even from home. From home, they are used to speaking their language. No matter how rich and wealthy they are, they speak Yoruba to their kids from day zero. The child grows to hear the Yoruba language. Eka Eka son, that is what they understand. And so when they migrate and leave for Europe or America, these kids don't find it difficult or strange to speak their language. But they have the pride. There's this pride that they have about their own language, their own nativity, their own culture, their own heritage, their own history. Okay, but where we have a lot of problem is in the Igbos. The Igbos, from day one, start speaking with English. Okay, when they feel they've made money, the next thing they speak English, and that is not. While it's okay, it's not ideal. It's not ideal. And then, of course, for those of us here, parents who have now migrated to Europe, most especially those in the UK, you can see the effects. Your kids cannot communicate, they cannot understand what you say, okay? They can't even speak. And that is the reason, that is the gap that Answers Truth Language Academy wants to fill. First benefit that your child gets, even you as an adult will get is, or you exposed to, that first, your speaking your language strengthens your identity. Okay, now, like I said earlier, because many of these Igbo parents do not start, or didn't start while they were in Nigeria. They didn't start from day one to speak their native language to these kids. So the moment they left Nigeria to UK, you notice that their identity is weakened. In fact, as they grow, they feel that they are more American, more Canadian, more of the European. They feel, or they have this feeling that they are whites. Okay, and that is why you see them as they grow, they begin to desire to coil their hair, to get their hair coiled. They begin to desire to weave their hair. They begin to desire to, live up to the Western culture. They embrace lesbianism. They embrace a lot of vices, things that we as Africans, we as Igbo, wouldn't want to imbibe in our kids, or wouldn't want to see our children practice those things, because they have lost their identity. Their identity is now weakened. They find no value in their identity. In fact, they see no reason why they should be blacks. They see no reason why they should be Nigerians. They see no reason why they should be, they should speak their language. And that is where you now see disrespect steps in, where, of course, as they grow and get the age of 18 years, they now realize that the culture, the nation that they live in, for example, UK, give them the privilege that if mommy flogs you or daddy beats you, you can call the police. And so they lose the African identity, which insulates respect. Okay, so the moment a father or a mother beats that child will rather, instead of calling the police, that child will begin to, mommy, I'm sorry. You see that broken heart and the repentant spirit steps in. Okay, that can only happen when that child has his or her identity strengthened, and that is what speaking your mother tongue can do for that child. And so I encourage you, parents, to encourage your children to speak their native language. In fact, let me say this to every one of us. I've said this I think sometime a few weeks ago, I posted this on Telegram and on WhatsApp platform. I say that the easiest way to colonize a people is by making them to change or see no value in speaking their language. The moment that is done, the moment that brainwashing is achieved or actualized, you will be able to control that person, make that person or those people to live according to your pre-designed standards. Okay, and so please encourage your children to speak their language. The next thing that speaking your mother tongue, or the benefits of speaking your mother tongue, or the advantages that you will get when you encourage your child or your children to speak their mother tongue, is that it will boost the family ties. Okay, it will create a stronger bond between father and wife, father and child, father and daughter, mother to daughter, daughter to father, daughter to brother, to siblings, to relatives outside, cousins outside. It will strengthen or boost family ties. Okay, it will make the bond stronger and unbreakable. And that is when a father can tell a child, sit down here, noreba, apokwala chomi hu neji. achọm ka igwu egwuregwu with this man or this, or achọm ka ịpụ eji by this time, ma ọ ga-epụ eji lekwe time chọrọ ka ịbata. When a father, in a home where the parents have encouraged the kids to speak their language, okay, when you see, come on, see, let me let you guys know. See, it's when a parent rebukes a child using their Igbo language, it sounds stronger. The strength of the sound is stronger. Okay, the possibility that the child will embrace or listen or heed the counsels given by such a parent, of course, is high. Okay, it's a child may trifle with a parent's counsel in English. Okay, a child may see it as does it really count? After all, does it really count? But we Igbo swore nyendomodo do me wagena la Igbo boyo ya banye sink here. It will sink inside the mind of that child or your kids. Okay, so it will always boost, like it will boost family ties. It will make them, even if let's say you beat them, they will not call the police, because you've been able to build stronger family ties by encouraging speaking of Igbo language or the mother tongue in the home. So please, one of the benefits is that it will boost family ties. The third benefit is it will help, or speaking your mother tongue helps in maintaining important links. Okay, because see, when you encourage your kid to speak in their language, to speak Igbo at home, the truth about it is that it will maintain, rebuild important links such as your home, your parents who are still in Nigeria. Okay, because see, there is this adage that says that when you speak to your child in a foreign language, it gets to the head, but when you speak to your child in your local dialect, in your local language, it gets to the heart. So when, like I was saying earlier, you have the privilege of allowing your children to speak with your parents who are back here in Nigeria in their mother tongue, you're trying to maintain the pre-existing link so that these children will not forget their parents. Please, they will not forget their grandfather, their grandmother. It builds and maintains these very important links. It will help them to stay abreast with their home, their hometown, where they came from. They will keep abreast with their culture, their heritage, their traditions. They wouldn't forget it. So encouraging your kids to speak in their language or in their mother tongue will always maintain these very important family links. Please, may we keep doing this. May we keep encouraging our kids to do so. The fourth benefit or the fourth advantage is that when we encourage our kids to speak in their mother tongue, it will contribute to a positive self-concept. Okay, speaking your mother tongue contributes to a positive self-concept. Okay, of course, for me, let's come into the UK and seeing, of course, the moral decadence that is now existing in Europe, other parts of the country. So let's say I choose to come into UK, and because I was trained and brought up here and I speak my mother tongue fluently and perfectly well, it will give me a concept that when I see the ideal of an average white man, okay, I will not budge. I wouldn't be intimidated. I wouldn't think that he is better off than me. And that can only be made possible if I speak fluently my mother tongue. The ability for me to speak my mother tongue gives me the courage, okay, the positive concept, the way I conceptualize my ideals, my values. I will see myself I will esteem myself highly than the white man. I wouldn't think that he is better off. I assume that I'm far better off. Okay, that I'm the original. That is what speaking or encouraging your kids to speak their mother tongue will do for you. I'm trying to make this podcast a short one so you can develop these thoughts on your own. Okay, the fifth one, if I'm correct, the fifth one, 1, 2, 3, 4. The fifth one is when you encourage your kids to speak their mother tongue, you are helping your children, even you as an adult, take pride in your culture and roots. Okay, so you're trying to, when you encourage your kids to speak their mother tongue, what you're doing is that you are trying to imbibe in them that attitude of pride. That, like I said earlier, it is also a type of positive self-concept. The way they see themselves, their perception, okay, towards themselves. They see themselves as important. They see their skin as very vital. Okay, they see, oh, I'm a black man. I'm very, very vital to national, even to this development of this nation this foreign country that I'm now in. You understand? So you imbibe in them that pride to accept their culture and their roots. A man who speaks fluently his or her language, a child who speaks fluently his or her native or mother tongue, will never abandon his or her culture and roots. That is why, should in case anything happens to you as a parent, they will always return back to their hometown. They will always return back to their home country. They will always come back to see their people. They wouldn't be lost in a foreign land. They wouldn't feel that that this foreign land that they are in is more important than where they are from. Okay? See, when your children forget or loses their culture, or if you fail to their language, and because of that failure, they lose touch of their culture and roots, where they came from, where their ancestors were buried, who their ancestors, the values of their ancestors. You know, for years, I've worked with one of the biggest non-governmental organizations in the US, that's Family Search International. We worked for about 5 years, okay, and I was able to conduct research and, of course, preservation of history and genealogical records of the people of Mbano and Mbise, and we're able to preserve over 50 million names from these locations, and of course beyond. And one of the things that, of course, once we're done producing, or once we were done interviewing these people, we were able to we used this information that they had to produce a book, or we produced this information given to us by them into a book and then handed back to them. So they had a hardcover or a hard copy of all that they said. And should in case any of these people who had more, or who knew more about their history, their heritage, okay, who knew a lot about their roots, died, the children cannot as well access these books and read for themselves what this man or what this ancestor once said during his or her interview. Okay, and so we did a lot of interviews, and we were able to preserve over 50 million names. And one of the beautiful things that we're able to imbibe in these inhabitants of these locations I just mentioned is the pride in their culture. And the children, the younger ones who didn't know that these things, these values were existing in were part of their nativity, hearing from these old men and old women, now found it necessary, important to learn more about their roots, more about their culture and traditions. And that is what speaking your language can do for you. Okay, the next point is encouraging when you encourage your child to speak his or her native language, it improves child's education. It does. How? In fact, it has been proven scientifically that when a child okay, who is fluent in speaking his or her native language, okay, such a child wouldn't find it difficult to speak or to learn other foreign languages. In other words, speaking your mother tongue creates a foundation for learning other foreign languages. It makes it much easier. Okay, those who cannot speak the native language struggle a lot to speak. I mean, not just speak perfectly well, and of course hear, other people speak their own language. So what do I mean? Those who have learned to speak their own language find it easier to hear, to learn new languages. Okay, so of course we also know that there are those who may have poor linguistic skills. Because of they have poor linguistic skills, they find it difficult to learn other languages. Just like my linguistic skill is quite low, and because of that sometimes I struggle to learn other languages like Yoruba or Hausa. So but then the truth about it is that an average scale for those who learn how to speak their mother tongue, they always find it easier to learn new languages. And then the last but not the least is that helping your children or encouraging your kids to speak their mother tongue insulates positive values. It encourages positive values. Okay, I mentioned earlier, of course, many of Nigerian parents who are now in the UK, they keep mentioning that sometimes they are scared to beat their children. I'm not saying that you should beat your child, just like we have in the Igbo Nigerian, context. But what I mean is that, of course, there are times when you have to, spank a child or flog a child. Okay, just make that child to learn that what he or she did. In fact, flogging really helped us as children while we were growing up. In fact, many of us would have been what we are today if not because our parents disciplined us. Okay, and of course, you know that UK, that is not possible. In fact, if your child calls police on you, you're going in for it. Okay, and you might lose that child. It's seen as abuse. So my point is that helping your kids to learn will improve or insulate or encourage positive values. And one of the values is the one I mentioned earlier. When you rebuke your child wouldn't tell you, use the F word on you, or say, or want to raise his voice at you. Your child wouldn't call you by your first name. And that is what is happening today. I have many parents, mothers, who are expressing their concern that their children now call them by their names. Because of course, they have embraced the foreign values, the white man values, which can be disrespectful. For us here, you can try it. Uncle, auntie, you understand? Even though you're trying to put some level of respect for that person. Okay, even though it sounds wrong, auntie, but then we know that there's something like uncle, but then you just find it difficult to address him because he's an elder to you. And there are also many other poor values that are not existing. But when you encourage your kids to speak their language, mother tongue, you find them embracing these positive values. Okay, they wouldn't want to dress anyhow because they know that in the Africa, the real Igbo man does not dress anyhow. Okay, of course, for women, the real Igbo lady covers herself up. You understand? And they learn about a lot of things about our culture, our heritage. These things with Ilu, Ifo. You have the privilege to tell them, to share Igbo stories. And that's why in our class schedule, we've also introduced cartoons. Okay, we want to use cartoons to imbibe positive values, and these cartoons are made in Igbo language. So in the class schedule, we discourage parents to not allow their kids to watch the English cartoons. Maybe it can be done, once in a while, but then predominantly what they should have backed up in their video archive or their laptops should be Igbo cartoons or Igbo-speaking cartoons. So this will help them to imbibe positive value, because in those cartoons you have the real African Igbo values, and one of them is respect, dignity. That is what we are trying to do here in Ancestry Language Academy. Okay, so think I've done it. I've said a lot, and I would like us to, if you have questions, please don't hesitate to share them with me. Okay, send them and I will do my best to answer them. I love you guys, and I want to say have a good night rest. Bye.